Greetings! This is I, Tentus Naravatic, your Lord and Emperor here of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more. Are you ready to dive back into Golarion, the Pathfinder role-playing games world? I'm coming back at you with another very interesting ancestry, which fits into that. It's technically legacy content since the core, but it's probably not going to have many changes. That's where we're going to be at today. So again, you know, there might be some minor changes, probably not major. We don't talk about it much. It's from the Impossible Lands. We're talking about Vishkanya today. So yeah, I hope you enjoy joining me, and remember to do all the various things to support on various channels. I'll give that a little shout out at the end. But yeah, and of course, you can always join me live on Twitch if you're over on YouTube, or vice versa. Hey, like having everybody around to hang out. So yeah, Vishkanya. We should talk about them, because they are very interesting ancestors. Now, when I start talking about them, we do have to mention, of course, where I usually do, is the various sources that not only I use, but I could recommend for doing further information, especially on mechanics. Because I don't talk about mechanics with any of my videos, I do like to shout out books, because it does give more information in a lot of ways. I usually just do lore and stuff, but lore is usually connected to mechanics sometimes, etc., but they were originally introduced in Bestiary 3. Inner Sea Races gave us information on actually playing them a lot more. Heroes of Golarion, and of course if you move to 2nd edition, the Impossible Lands is where we get the 2nd edition version of Vishkanya. Alright. Who are the Vishkanya? Well, for one thing, they are ophidian humanoids, which are serpent, snake. That's what ophidian means. It's very snake-like. They are humanoids. They are masters of oftentimes poison, and a lot of them, they're masters of poison because of their own poison. And a lot of them also are masters of subterfuge. Not to be very speciesist in this case, but it is the entire thing of, you know, serpents good at hunting, good at being quiet, kind of that kind of thing. Patience. And patience can go to subterfuge a lot. So it's natural things that draw them to that. It's not necessarily something that's built into them. It's just that natural instincts go well to subterfuge for them. So keep that in mind. Now, they do have potent venom in their own bodies. Their blood is venomous, and so is their saliva. And because of that natural finesse and natural ways of going about things, and the toxicity of their bodies, there's a lot of misunderstandings for them that go for ages ago. But again, it's one of those things is these misunderstandings are things they wish to overcome. Yes, they are venomous creatures. And yes, plenty of them have gone into be more infamous with basic directions related to subterfuge, but it's not the species as a whole, the ancestry as a whole. It's just that those individuals stand out and unfortunately give them worse reputation, and basically they work to be more than these stories. That is a goal for them. They are a culture more than just that. More than just the stories, more than just a few, maybe, whether they're good or bad apples, but a few apples that basically are the ones on top that people notice, rather than the true nature of them all. Anyway, their true nature of their origin is something to debate, though. There are some Vishkanya that believe they are a rejected spawn of Ravithra, which does explain why they do have a natural animosity between them and Nagas. Other believe stories that they're the stolen offspring of a forgotten progenitor whose name was lost to history. Regardless, though, they are survivors. Whether they are a rejected spawn or stolen offspring, they survive. And through history, unfortunately, the fear of their deadly abilities, basically having this natural inclination towards using poisons, because they have a poison that they have naturally, and their basically better ability to be more self or subterfuge, means that subjugation, exploitation, and ostracization have been big in their history. But through it all, they endure. Currently, they are free of all the chains that would bind them, and they live in close-knit groups, They love storytelling, arts, and keep a detailed history of their people, basically determine how best to find opportunity in the world as a whole. Now, they're survivors. It's very easy. That word defines Vishkanya very heavily. So they're very human-like. But the ophidian features, the serpent-like features, do become clear as you get close to them. They tend to be tall, lit, golden eyes, vertical pupils, a forked tongue. They actually have small, smooth scales that range from tones of browns to greens to bright display-colored patterns. That is what their skin is. Their skin is scaled. So, yeah, it looks just at a distance like normal, most other humanoids' skin would be, but if you get close, you can see the scale patterning, especially the coloring does make it a little bit more distinct. Hair color is usually typically of darker shades, though there are instances of brighter colors in parts of the hair. Vishkanyan women are slightly taller than men, though neither ever truly stop growing. And as such, Vishkanya can reach heights of 7 feet or taller in old age. So, very reptilian. It isn't impossible for Vishkanya of mixed heritages to exist. Vishkanya, offspring of this background, sometimes strongly resemble the non-Vishkanya parent, with only a few stray tells, sharp canines, things like that to indicate heritage. Vishkanya can sometimes refer to these children as scaleless or subtle, but otherwise welcome them like any of their other kin. Though, again, sadly, their appearance and basically being of this mixed ancestry can feel paranoid in others. Remember, the idea of infiltration, subterfuge, these kind of things are bad misunderstandings, and when you have these children born out of a relationship, it unfortunately does cause some misunderstanding sometimes. It's just more issues that they have to deal with. Child born of miraculous love between a Vishkanyan person and another should be cared for and is by the Vishkanya, but outside the immediate family of the other side, maybe not. Which is terrible, just because of the problems with Vishkanya. Not the problems directly, but the problems of the people make up with them. The unfortunate prejudices. So, I do have to note, there are misunderstandings about their poison. So, a lot of their poison, misunderstanding that their touch is venomous, that's not true. But their blood and their spittle is. And most Vishkanya warriors actually become very good at using the poison in their saliva and putting it on their weapons. Because of this also, they're resistant to poisons, but it is an entire thing. Is if you have a poison and you use weapons, you could just put it on there. You could just lick your own weapon and make it poisonous. It's a little strange, but hey, it's a weapon that you can use. They do have their own language, Vishkanya. When we talk about them group-wise, they live in small, tight-knit communities, usually between 50 to 100 individuals. These communities can assimilate to larger societies, with many such groups scattered in a larger area. At the head of these groups tend to be a selected number of women chosen for their wisdom and heritage. Vishkanya will have multiple partners, give birth in multiples, and adhere to maternal inheritances. So, though there is definitely a maternal or a female-oriented head of the society, still, it's multiple partners, multiple births, but there's that maternal inheritance. Children can choose whatever occupation they want. They're usually free to do that, but they want the nature of whatever they choose to be to help contribute to the larger community. It's sort of like, it's like, you can do whatever you want, just don't be a detriment to the community. It does mean that many Vishkanyas pursue crafts or art, Some roles are burdened with responsibility of cultural and historical record keeping. These tasks are kept across generations traditionally, and traditionally they are very culturally minded, so they regularly meet in congregations, many of which we tend to be secret, for the purpose of sharing stories, information, resources, providing youth support to the youth, creating advisory boards to help make large-scale decisions for their people in a given area, things of that nature. So, yeah, they'll get together, they'll discuss things, what they need to do to help keep their people in an area safe or help out who needs to be helped. The desire to preserve their own culture has kept them and these kind of practices going for centuries, but recently some have called for more open interactions with the world to basically attempt to proudly share their culture, and again, it's that entire thing is because they do oftentimes do these congregations in secret, it does tend to lead towards misunderstandings. Yay, misunderstandings! Again, similarly speaking, they are mischaracterized oftentimes because, they being venomous, they might have malice towards other ancestors. Again, a lot of the other malice that's been towards them over the years has led them to strong concepts of their own ethnicity, and they oftentimes look at what's outsiders to their people and what's insiders. So most Vishkanya will be gracious and hospitable to non-Vishkanya visitors, but a large stir would often arise around the concept of allowing them into the community and becoming more involved in that capacity. It's, can we trust you because of a lot of things that have happened to us, that if we let you into our group as a whole, you will be good for our group as a whole. Parents oftentimes do an eye on children who become attached to non-Vishkanya friends, and talks of romance or marriage with another ancestry do bring about long family discussions. Not necessarily hostile ones, but it's a long discussion about, how there's a lot of challenges because of the misunderstandings with Vishkanya people that they understand, and they would rather not both have their child who's trying to get into this relationship and whoever they are suffer through some of the problems they might have from that relationship without being aware of it. So they won't maybe stop you, but they'll want you to be ready for it. And it's a long, powerful discussion of, are you willing to take on the issues that will be there, because they have been fighting to overcome the just misrepresentation in others' minds of them, and it is such an uphill battle that those at the forefront that are mixing the cultures, in this case maybe directly, will face it. So, yeah, it's a tough thing for them, but they try, Concerned with the preservation of their culture, it makes it that most of them stay in their cultural groups or travel to other cultural groups, things like that. But there are Vishkanya who take to very individualistic travels, sometimes to teach others about their ancestry, to experience the world, things like that. So it's not impossible to find Vishkanya outside of their region, but they are rare outside of their region, I will tell you. In other places of the world, very rare. Again, it's not you couldn't find them doing it. Those that do follow a faith can be quite different between the different groups. Some stick to old Vishkanyan beliefs, others go to Vudrani deities like Lika, Ashkarma. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Others might embrace local gods with tenets of freedom and arts. Arazini, Caden Kalen, Shellen tend to be very popular in that case. Or even deities associated with individualistic beliefs, pursuits. Now, if we do turn to Golarion as the whole on the planet, you're going to find most of them in Casmaron. Of course you are. That's the continent they originate from. Within Vudra, they have their own kingdom. The jungle Mada Janpada of Hanadesh, located at the heart of the historic region known as the Cradle. There are also numerous in the Vudran region of the Crying Jungle, one of the most dense verdant forests in all of Casmaron. They can be found in the Inner Sea region, though, too, in far greater numbers than most would suspect, because, again, without closer examination, they look very human. And they tend to be drawn to regions and organizations that appreciate their abilities and sometimes their natural affinity with poison. Daggermark is home to dozens of them. Especially, you do find numbers in the Daggermark Assassins Guild or Daggermark Poisoners Guild. They've been recruited of the Thakurs and Jalarme to teach the Gran Saret, a secret school to train couriers and spies. And it's even claimed that there are several in the Red Mantis Assassins. Again, these are probably the most forefront within the Inner Sea region that you find, Vishkanya, and they are probably ones that have found those homes there because the travelers, it works to their abilities, and then they become the forefront, which is not necessarily a great way of showing all of them off. Again, it's the unfortunate thing that these places welcome them with open arms, and while they're there, make a bad example in a way. So yeah. But that's Vishkanya. And that's what I'm saying. It's sort of like one of those things. Is the unfortunate part about all of this is the fact that they are in... When you find them in an Inner Sea region, when you actually do and can identify them, that fact that they are usually in those jobs which give them a bad reputation. It's an unfortunate part about them that their culture is deep and wider and more interesting than just the couple of people that can use that are basically using their poisons for various jobs, or their natural ability to be very subtle. And in some places, it is a little bit better. I mean, being at Jalarme, it's a little bit better there. You're teaching jobs that are more than just assassins. You're teaching jobs that are courtiers and spies. Yes, spies have a reputation. The courtiers maybe a little less. And it's a secret school, technically. I mean, it's sort of like, it's a lot of secrecy around them, and their own secrecy. It's just this unfortunate thing that there's so much around them that gives them a bad reputation that is very much so not deserved. And probably most of them in the Inner Sea region are just people. People that wanted to travel. People who wanted to learn. People who wanted to see things. People who wanted to meet more places. Maybe show that their people aren't bad. Aren't deserving of their reputation. But there's plenty that go to these places because they're probably less accepted in their own home regions. Hey, people without the morality that they might become assassins are probably not welcomed in their home necessarily. So when they leave, where do they go? Places where they are accepted, which they're kind of the bad apples of their own group, and they're the ones people notice, and it's so unfortunate for them. It's just, bad reputation spreads that way, and we can only hope that in the future, it'll be better for them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna get going. Remember to check out the rest of my stuff. Remember to check me out, of course, over on Twitch side. Remember to check me out on YouTube. If you're over on YouTube, do the algorithm stuff. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. All that kind of stuff. It does help out. And, of course, I have social media, Discord, Twitter.com, X, or whatever you want to call it. That just usually is cat pics, daily musings, and schedulings when I go live. All that kind of stuff. I have tabletop stuff normally. If you're going to see me live, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Thursdays is the Pathfinder day. Everything else goes up on YouTube, usually a couple days later. I have a Pathfinder live play first edition on Wednesday evenings, Crimson Queen. I recommend that. And Discussing Tabletop, my kind of talk show podcast on Saturdays at 6. Alright, everybody. I'm gonna get going. I hope you enjoyed, and until the next time, I bid you farewell.